Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you can learn how to make more money in less time and have more fun, especially the more fun part. I'm excited this morning. I have a very special guest, Eric Fortenberry. Eric Fortenberry is the founder of JobTread. And so he's a big deal in the construction industry. So, Eric, good morning. Can you tell a little bit about why one would start a software company to begin with and what you got into this?
Thanks for having me on, Paul. How did I get into it? Well, my undergrad was from the University of Texas at Austin. I had a finance and accounting degree. Went and I was working at a boutique investment bank right after I graduated. And the very first deal I was on, it was these two kids out of Vanderbilt had bootstrapped a software company. They basically out of their grandmother's basement put in like $3,000 each, and just started developing a tool to help students in K through 12th grade be able to, do test preparation. Like the original concept was online flashcards. And long story short, though, these two guys, ended up building a huge business and came to our bank about 5 years later and just said, hey, we've built this thing as large as we know what to do. Can you guys help us take it to the next level? And ultimately they wanted us to sell it. And so, I was the very first deal I was on, but I saw these two guys who had built a phenomenal business. We helped them sell it, for over $100 million. And, I fell in love with the software as a service revenue model, where it's like every month, you're basically, you just have annual subscriptions or monthly subscriptions, and you just got to keep, let's say you keep 90% of it, but then you keep bringing on new business. It's a phenomenal revenue model. And so I fell in love with that, with that model there. But after that, and I went and I started my first software company where we took software to higher education and took it to about, it was like 650 universities in 13 countries and had over 20 million users on our site. We ended up selling the company in 2015. Learned a lot from that one. It was, very, very successful exit. But after that, a buddy of mine was running a construction company here in Dallas and asked me to come over and help him figure out how to scale the business. And so, that's where I really got my deep dive into construction and ended up taking over the company. I'd agreed to come on for a year, and we built out what is now JobTread, essentially to help them better manage their business. And, after that year, I, thanked him, and, we recruited some of my developers from my last company, and they came on and rebuilt everything I did. And, they essentially, a couple of years of building JobTread, and then we started selling it in 2021.
Okay. So why is JobTread different and better from CoConstruct, Buildertrend, Procore? There's a bunch of them out there, right? So why did you decide that industry, someone might say, is already saturated, right? You got a lot of companies out there, a lot, they're doing really well. Why did you decide to do something different, and why is yours different from anybody else's?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, when I first went into that construction business, my advice was, look, guys, I see how chaotic things are, like very unorganized, paper, is walking in the door with timesheets and, invoices and bills, and like everything's just being printed and put into binders. Like it was just total chaos. And so, my advice is, look, guys, we just need some software. And that's when I went and I looked at everything out there, from Buildertrend and CoConstruct, Procore, Jobber, Raken. Like I looked at everything. And I very quickly realized that like there was a lot of software out there, but, I struggled to make a recommendation for what these guys should implement, and it was either, super expensive, or it looked like it was, antiquated technology, didn't really enjoy the user interface. It wasn't going to be customizable enough to meet our needs at the business. And so, that's when these guys were like, well, you're a software developer. Can't you just build something? I was like, well, I don't want to create another one-off. But we ended up going down that path, when they let me take over control of the company. And so, at the end of the day, I tell people, like, we're not reinventing the wheel here. Like the fundamentals of managing a construction business haven't changed. What we're doing is we're leveraging modern technology. We've built an easier to learn, easier to use application. It's a lot more flexible. It's super fast. Like, I don't know how it's super frustrating when you get on a web app and you're sitting there waiting for things to load. Like JobTread is extremely fast. And, at the end of the day, like we also, we're undercutting everybody on price. We're keeping it extremely affordable. Like our goal here is to set the standard for construction management. And we want to get this into tens of thousands of contractors, eventually hundreds of thousands of contractors' hands. And, to do that, it's a volume play. And so, we want to keep our prices as low and affordable as possible. And, again, I think at the end of the day, it's there's a lot of other companies out there, but that they were started so long ago that they're sitting on, what's now antiquated technology. And, we have that late
Can you tell
mover
me what,
advantage.
to the lay person, what does antiquated, is it C++ versus some, I don't understand programming. I don't think anybody listening to this program does. So can you explain the difference between your, like whatever program you're using, whatever code you're using versus JobTread, CoConstruct, Procore, those other ones? Why are you different?
Yeah. So the difference would be that, let's say, 10, 15 years ago, the language that they're writing their code in, let's say, what might take them, 1,000 lines of code would take us like a couple lines, or it's just so much.
Can you be more
smaller.
specific? Is it C versus something else? What is the actual name of the software, A versus B?
Yeah, so I mean, we're using JavaScript. It's basically React, JavaScript. Is essentially kind of the new modern technology. That's how we can load things so quickly. Things are so responsive. A lot of the .NET, Java based. It's very older technology that's just a lot more kind of takes a lot more code to do the same things that you can do much more efficiently.
Now, why do you think these other companies haven't just said, well, let's go from C++ to JavaScript because it seems to be better?
Yeah. Well, the challenge is, and again, I towards the end of my last software company, I ended up going back to school, and I got a master's in software engineering. And what you learn, essentially about, a legacy application is that, once you've built your foundation, you really can't just come in and change it. You can make updates and you can add features and things, but like that core is very difficult to change later. And so, when you grow to the size of, you got thousands of customers, tens of thousands of customers, every little change you make affects, everyone. And so, it's just something that you can't just, throw the baby out with the bathwater and start over, because, you're basically starting back from scratch. And it takes years and years and years to build an application, and so they would, it just takes so much time and money to try to move over versus, you sort of just get stuck with what you set up from the beginning. That foundation, you can't just swap out a foundation on a home very easily. Same concept here with, with a web app. It's very important that you architect it the right way from the beginning and set yourself up to be able to continually improve it. And, again, it's technology has really evolved over the last, 5-10 years, specifically with, web apps. And so, again, we got the late mover advantage. We got to learn from all of the things that everyone else is doing, what worked and what didn't work, and hearing the feedback from the market has helped us to make sure, that we build ours the right way and the way that, the market is expecting it to work.
Well, how can you possibly keep up with technology when it changes on like AI changes exponentially, right?
Yeah.
So, they started their technology, whatever, 12, 13 years ago. And I don't know what it's written in, but it's not written in Java, obviously. And you're writing yours in Java. How do you not get stuck in the same rut? Like 5 years from now, somebody else says, well, that's Java. It's old news. We're writing in, XYZ code, which is just getting an AI and it's way better.
Yeah. No, it's, again, it's something that there will always be new technologies. JavaScript has, it's been around for a while, but it just wasn't as, prevalent. It wasn't kind of a, the main workhorse for applications, just back in the day. And, it's something that, it's not going to go anywhere, and it's going to continually improve, but we wouldn't be able to just like jump, from that to the next new, technology, whatever it may be. But, there are kind of broader categories that, I think it's so important that you choose the right tools for your specific need. So after you sell it, you can essentially, go through and start doing all of the job costing, where you can send out, your purchase orders, your work orders, you're committing, your funds out of your approved budget. And so our goal is to help you make sure that you're running this job and keeping it on budget. At any point, if you exceed your cost for any one line item or for a group of line items, we throw the flag and we say, hey, this is over budget. Like what's happening here? And then you can essentially track back why that happened. And that's going to help you, either immediately course correct where, again, you can maybe go get change orders, you could renegotiate with your sub, or it's going to force you to, at least make an update in your catalog and your pricing for the next jobs to make sure you don't keep making those same mistakes. But by having all of the job costing, by having, all of the invoicing for the customers run through here, the bills, the actuals, like you really get a very good understanding of your numbers. And so that's been our approach, is to have one integrated, financial system here for tracking your jobs and your job costing. And so a lot of other systems out there, they've got a bunch of kind of disconnected pieces. And so you're having to re-enter the same information over and over and over again, and kind of moving from different places within the job. Like in JobTread, you manage everything right there from the job budget.
Now,
estimating, like you build the budget. That is the foundation of every job. So you first build the budget, figure out the cost, and then from there you generate the estimate. And so once that gets approved, like the same line items in the budget, everything they approved, you have that budget. Now you can do the job costing. Now you can do the invoicing, the billing. It's all one integrated thing. It's not a separate place. You don't have to go do your estimates in some other system and import it. I mean, you could import it if you want, but like we give you the tool to do it all right there. So that's So that's that. QuickBooks has made tons and tons of investment into their QuickBooks Online APIs. We do integrate with QuickBooks Desktop. It's a more limited feature set, but QuickBooks Online, I mean, like, they poured in just a ton. I would say we have a lot of that integration, but now if they want to go make updates and changes, they're having to go back out to that third party who knows if they're even still. The bigger thing that we've done is we integrated with Zapier, which Zapier has over 5,000 other applications that are also integrated with it. And so this allows, people like us to be able to have one integration with Zapier, and then it enables integrations into everybody else who's also on Zapier. So, Go High Level, HubSpot, Pipedrive, like, there's tons of them. And so you can essentially set up triggers and actions where the data can flow back and forth. So, again, if you're looking for, very heavy email marketing or, text-based marketing, I mean, there are other systems out there that's their core. And so we allow you to integrate with them and connect, and you just kind of figure out when is the right time to push information either to JobTread, other applications out there that they've got a web app, and then they have a native iOS app and a native Android app. Well, we only have one version of our application. It's just the web-based, version. Now on the iPhone or on the Android, we essentially we're circumventing the app stores. Apple, wants 30% of your revenue, and in my opinion, it's just highway robbery. It's forcing you to increase your cost. So we use what's called a progressive web app, where it allows you to save the app on your phone. It feels like an app. You'd never know that it wasn't a full-blown app, but it really is. Like, you get all of the updates that we push out. The reason why we chose to do this is this has allowed us to build so much faster than everybody else out there. When you have 3 different versions of your application, which, by the way, are written in 3 different languages, that means that you have to have different developers to maintain each of those. And every time you roll out a new feature to one, you have to go implement that same feature. So you're essentially tripling the amount of work that you have to do to support that. And people get very frustrated when they can't do something on their mobile device that they can do on the desktop, and vice versa. With JobTread, we've made it where it works on all devices. It's called fully responsive. And so depending on the width of your device, JobTread will collapse into a 2-column or a 1-column tool, instead of, on the desktop, you might have 3 columns of data and width there. And so, our approach has been to, essentially just be able to use the same app and give you all of the same functionality, regardless what device you're on. And, people are really appreciative of that.
Okay. So what would you say if you were, a contractor and saying, okay, why would, because there's a lot of choices out there. Now, what if I've got Procore, or, for example, a lot of people use Procore because it's more architecturally friendly. They used to use co-construct because when Donnie did it, he made it very user-friendly. And then when Dan Houghton did, Builder Trend, he's a programmer guy and he made it program friendly. Decision, they're saying, okay, I've got co-construct or Procore, pick one. How can they decide what's a good vetting process? Decide which software is best for me. Let's say you're a consultant, you don't own JobTread. They're looking at an objective opinion. How would I go out there and make a decision on how to choose the right company for software? My company, I might be a $10 million company. I might be a $50 million company. I might be two guys in a truck, right?
Yeah.
So how do I make that decision given all the software out there? What vetting process do I use so I know I get the right software?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first and foremost, I would say, before you go out looking, you need to do some reflection on what exactly are you trying to solve? What is your pain point? Like, what bottlenecks is your company having? Like, my recommendation is go and shadow everyone in your company and just ask them, like, hey, what do you feel like you're spending your time, that you wish like you weren't having to do this? Like, how could I make you more efficient? How could I help you, be a more effective, whatever your role is, from estimator, project manager, office manager, like whatever it is, like take the time to really understand, what are you trying to solve? What are you looking for? That's going to then help make sure that when you go start searching, you can find the things that are actually going to solve your problem. But once you do that, I would suggest, again, you need to make sure that you do product demos. Like, make sure that the company, is showing you the product. Not, again, it's super easy to create a really, awesome looking marketing website, with images and photoshops. You could make anything look pretty, but like, you got to actually see the product in action. So take the time to do a demo. I would encourage you too to get other people from your company involved in the process and say, hey, can you see yourself using this? Like, is this something that you want to use? I would also say you got to look at, the reviews. What are other people saying about that? And then what support resources, are these companies providing? Sometimes they're just, that you got software apps out there that have no support and they just leave you, high and dry when you need help. Do they have a training program? Do they have a help desk? Do they have video support? Do they have dedicated customer success managers? Will you have somebody who you can pick up the phone and call or text or email or schedule meetings with? Like, that's what we do here at JobTread. Like, we view ourselves as a software company, but we're also a service company. We want to provide the best service possible. And, we've built out a system that enables us to continue scaling that as we bring on new customers. A lot of times you don't get very good service. And so you got to really flush that out. And lastly, I would say you got to understand the pricing model. What has been the trend for their pricing? I mean, is this something that you're going to be able to get an ROI on? Is this affordable? Are they going to come in and jack up the price on you later? What is their pricing strategy? Understanding that, because, again, you don't want to, go all in a company and then, kind of turn around and realize, wait, that price they had on their website wasn't actually the price, and that it got increased the next month or, the next year, whatever it may be. Really understanding those things will help you to make the best decision for your company and make sure that you buy the product that is going to help you solve your pain points.
Yeah. Another thing I would recommend is you go to somebody with your size business, right? Say you're doing 2 million, 10 million, whatever you're doing, and whether you're an HVAC company or you're a whatever, try to find your peers. Find out what they're using and find out what they're complaining about, right? Because a lot of people will say, well, this program sucks because the customer service answer the phone, or it doesn't integrate well, or I have to have a whole spreadsheet to do all the estimating and it doesn't integrate with this. So to me, let me call it peer review, but I think reviews are nice, but actually talking to the company and saying how long you've been on whatever software you've been on, what do you like and what do you hate about it? And getting actual feedback from people, whatever your industry is and your size of business, to find out what they're using and what they like and what they don't like about it. Right.
I would also find out, do they have a roadmap that they're sharing? Do they have is there a feature request board that you can see? Like, do you see, are they actively updating the product? Like, are they taking the customer's feedback and implementing it to improve the product? Like, again, software, there's no such thing as a perfect piece of software. There's no such thing as like just building it and being done. It's a continually evolving process. And so you want to find companies, who are going to listen to you. They're going to value your feedback and continue to make improvements with that feedback.
So at JobTread, how many complaints do you have to get in order to say, well, I think we need to fix that, whatever it is? I mean, maybe the estimating module is not accurate enough, or I need it in pounds or Canadian versus whatever, right? Right. You have it in Spanish. I mean, so in your feedback mechanism, how does that work? How much, how many people have to raise their hand before you go, maybe we should alter this?
Yeah. So we, again, we're very much set up to be, very, very nimble. So if someone, posts on our JobTread Pros Facebook group, like, hey, this doesn't look right, there's a bug or something like that, like we immediately fix it. I don't need multiple people. If we see an issue and if we can replicate it, it's going to get fixed right away. Now, if it's a new idea or an enhancement or a feature request, again, like someone could just throw things out there and it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, that is a no-brainer. Like we can implement that like in an hour or whatever it may be. Like all the time we take that stuff and we kind of just, if it makes total sense and it's super easy, we don't make it just go onto a list. Like we just go implement it, again, depending on kind of what each of my guys or, my developers are working on and if it makes sense. But we do also have a feature request board where you can sort it by popular, by most popular. And so, for larger, new features and new projects that have to be scheduled and really kind of, we got to do a lot more, kind of requirements gathering and designing and figuring all of that out. Those are, those are going to take longer to get done. But by using our help desk to collect Yeah. So sometimes there's building blocks that, we have to kind of do along the way to make
Now,
sure we're doing that.
I'm going to go totally off subject for the last couple of minutes here. How do you think, because you're a real smart guy, you've done software, I want your opinion. How do you think AI is going to affect the construction industry and what can contractors do to adapt?
I think what we're all seeing is kind of the first and foremost, like it's helping us, I would say, from a marketing standpoint, being able to generate content, whether it's, an email that you're sending to a prospect, whether it's responding to something, whether it's, a web page or an ad, or a job description, like, being able to, very quickly generate high quality content. And obviously you got to kind of, massage it after that. I think that's probably the first and foremost. But I think there's going to be a lot of really neat ways that, when this data, when this AI can start to actually, look at all of these massive data sets, like being able to now predict, hey, I want to build a home, can you give me the entire budget for that? Or, hey, I'm adding a pool to this, guys, I need a schedule. Like being able to start kind of programmatically generating, budgets and schedules, templates to help, facilitate that is going to be extremely powerful. I think it's going to take a little while though to fully get there. Again, it takes a lot of learning, and so, at some point, we'll look at kind of ways that we can implement machine learning to, we have a huge data set. We've had over $2 billion have been sold and managed, like $2 billion worth of jobs, has been sold and managed on JobTread. And so, if you can imagine the data set, it's enormous. But, you got to take the time to kind of really, assimilate such a large data set before you get to then train the AI to make sure that you're doing, kind of that it's doing the correct output.
So as a software company, you're actively looking at AI and how it can enhance and change, and because it's going exponentially, how your software can integrate with the latest AI technique, that the CEO or whatever is like, you got to wait 6 months to even talk to the guy. Are you still accessible to some people because your company is still pretty small?
Oh yeah, man. I'm a huge believer of, building awesome relationships. So you can find us at jobtread.com. But we have a Facebook group where it's all of our customers. It's tremendously valuable for them. And I spend, a lot of time kind of, reading and responding to all of those posts, helping out. I would say I have personal relationships with hundreds of our customers. We do an annual user conference event where our customers can fly in. My entire team, we all get out of the office, we go and we spend those 3 days with our customers, building the relationships. I'm constantly getting on Zoom, meeting with people. I mean, I think I did like 25 trade shows last year where I'm out there in the market wanting to connect and wanting to, learn from people. And I think it's about having that engagement. That's what helps us to continually grow and improve JobTread. So, I'm not your typical corner office CEO. Like my sleeves are rolled up. I'm down there with everybody else on my team. Like it's just so important that, we provide the best possible customer service. And I know a lot of times that is me getting involved and, by having that Facebook group where we have, thousands of people in there, that helps me to kind of be able to respond to one person, but everybody gets the benefit of that, so I fully plan to stay very involved.
Okay, that sounds great, Eric. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And if you're shopping for software, you're crazy not to look at this software because I think it's one of the best out there.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul.